farm law creating a program to regulate cultivation of hemp. The state plan then needed federal approval, which came earlier this month, and thus clearing the way for Florida growers now to begin cultivating hemp. FDAX is accepting applications to grow industrial hemp online at fdax.gov/cannabis.
Bite back at flies this season with ready-to-use Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide with IGR. Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide controls house flies, stable flies, horse flies, black flies, horn flies, and deer flies on cattle with just one application and zero withdrawal. And it's the first cattle insecticide pour-on product to include an insect growth regulator. Bite back with Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide. See product label for complete product information, indications, and application instructions.
And last Friday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced a $9.5 billion funding to 11 collaborative multi-state projects that seek to boost the competitiveness of U.S. specialty crops. And the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services was awarded just over $850,000 to support research related to improvements in lettuce resistance to bacterial leaf spot funded through the Specialty Crop Multi-State Program. Florida Commissioner of Agriculture Nikki Freed said the funding is particularly important with Florida-grown lettuce facing losses of up to 75% due to COVID-19. Learn more about this on AgNet Media's Vegetable and Specialty Crop News website, vscnews.com. Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
My fellow conservatives, please stay safe during this COVID-19 crisis. I'm Ryan Chamberlain, candidate for Congress. Here's my plan to protect us from future pandemics. First, stop doing business with communist China. Second, let's replenish our emergency medical stockpile and then pay off the national debt to keep our dollar strong. And finally, let's build the wall. I'm Ryan Chamberlain, and I approve this message. Now let's fire Nancy Pelosi and put America first. Paid for by Ryan Chamberlain for Congress, District 3.
A partly sunny day today, high 82 to 84. For tonight, mainly clear, low 61 to 66. Then a partly sunny day for tomorrow with a high Wednesday, 87 to 89. And at night, turning out to be partly cloudy with a low 65 to 69. For Thursday, partial sunshine with a shower or a thunderstorm, high 81 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Kevin Snyder.
How would you like to become more competitive, effective, and profitable in difficult times? For most of us, the answer is obviously yes. Wednesday morning at 9:05, Greg Kowalik, president of Rapid Development Solutions, will be Adam's guest to tell us how Rapid Development Solutions has helped Fortune 100 customers do just that through the application of innovative technology. It's software for the modern age. Again, that's Wednesday at 9:05 a.m. News you can use from The Source, WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM.
WOCA. Ocala.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ocala, on this Tuesday. AM Ocala Live here on The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA The Source Radio. 6 minutes after the top of the 8 o'clock hour, we now have Galen on the phone from Life South Community Blood Centers. Good morning, Galen.
Hey, Adam, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. Boy, what a beautiful day yesterday. Got the same thing today. Makes you feel good about maybe a conversation headed in the direction of maybe getting back to some normalcy as maybe the stay-at-home order goes away, stays away, and then we, like DeSantis said, baby steps, I guess, to getting things open back up. Baby steps.
Yeah, I mean, he's got no plan yet. I mean, he hasn't released any dates. I thought it was interesting, Texas just said, you know what, I'm lifting the ban, May 1. And DeSantis hasn't decided what he's going to do other than elective surgeries will start
right
May 11th. It's just, again, as I've always said, the cure can't be worse than the virus itself. We now know what the mortality rate of this virus is.
Mm-hmm.
We now have a really strong indication that a lot more people have it than we ever imagined. but there are still Canadians driving on the road. Good gosh, this guy, he's going 68 miles an hour in the left lane. Come on.
Well, he's reading the wrong numbers. He's looking at kilometers per hour.
I know. And then when you pass them, they look at you like, my God, why are you going so fast? It's Canadians. Anyway, so that's the big issue, right? Is what the mortality rate. Remember, at one point we thought it was going to be like 10%. You know, and that we really had a big concern. We were going to overwhelm our hospitals, and the absolute reverse has happened. Instead, hundreds of thousands of medical staff have been furloughed. Every day I'm getting articles where people are, health systems are either going out of business completely or are furloughing workers. And, our local hospitals are at about 75, sometimes less than that, sometimes as low as 65% of capacity.
Oh, wow.
That is not healthy. If you're thinking, oh, that's great. No, that's terrible. Because what's happening is a lot of people who need treatment are either just avoiding the hospital completely,
right,
or they're putting it off until after this pandemic, as they're calling it, is over, because they don't want to be exposed to COVID, because all they hear about is how bad this thing is. So, and the death toll, I know it's high. I don't know how much of that I can believe. They finally came out and admitted how much money each state gets and each hospital gets.
Yes.
Per COVID case, they get X number of dollars, and per COVID death, they get an exponentially higher number of federal funding. And if you don't think that's a financial real motivator to classify these people as COVID related, you're crazy.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of these hospitals are barely scraping by, and if they can get $150,000 because it's a COVID related death, they're going to get that $150,000.
Right. Yeah, we were talking numbers there just off air a little bit, and it's like you said, it's hard to really, like you said, we at least have we have an idea of the percentage of mortality rate, but when we look at the big picture, if you zoom out a little bit, it's somewhere in the idea of almost 1,100 deaths. And like you said, grain of salt to whether or not that was completely 100% COVID-19 related. But when we look at, the state of Florida, population of almost 20 million people, 30,000 people we know of were diagnosed with it, tested positive for it, and then 1,100 died. We're still talking very, very small percents, very small percentage when it comes to what the projections were gonna be in lieu of all this. It's kind of nuts. Now, with that too, we were talking off air just a little bit about those numbers are there, but we don't know how many people were actually maybe exposed to it, and that's what brought up some of the ideas within testing for the antibodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lifestyle, we tested a lot of our employees. Started really last week. We opened it up to almost all of our employees at our headquarters yesterday. I got tested. We'll see what happens. And the reason for that is because we need plasma donors for for COVID patients. It's a therapy that seems to be really having a positive impact. And I hear things like, we shouldn't open it up until we have a vaccination. We may never have a vaccination. There's a lot of viruses we have no vaccination for that are every day. Everybody should be tested. Well, who's going to pay for that?
Right.
I mean, this is already costing our country trillions of dollars in federal spending that we're going to have to pay somehow, some way. Not to mention the millions of people who have lost their job and had an economic impact. I don't know how we recover from it. And, I was watching the press briefing yesterday, and somebody asked the president, and it was shameful. And they said, well, how can a president who's allowed more deaths than the Vietnam War be reelected? And I'm like, you know what? That's absolutely shameful. What a shameful question that is.
Wow.
And you know, and I'm sure she was very proud of herself and thought she got a gotcha question, and to somehow, you know, to me it was insulting as somebody who spent time in the military, and there's a big difference from dying of a virus and dying on the battlefield. There just is. It's a major difference, and to somehow put the two in the same sentence, I just thought it was shameful.
Yeah, man, that's heavy. That's a sharp right turn. Now, I wanted to bring up something that come along in national media here just yesterday, as everything that's been done to avoid COVID. You got to see forest for the trees when it comes to the exponential idea of consequence, and one of those is coming out of basically Tyson Chicken is saying that now, as of yesterday, that with them closing down their facilities with some of the COVID patients that they had and then had to close facilities, I think another one was it Dakota's North or South that had the Smithfield pork chop processing plant and so on and so forth.
She's owned by China.
Yeah, that
it is.
Is it really?
There's yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
It's owned by China.
That there's now a gap. There is an issue or a warning within the food chain supply about the production of food coming to the idea of chicken. That's coming out of Tyson saying, hey, we've been shut down. People have been staying at home, and the only thing open is grocery stores. And people have been going in and buying all kinds of food, and now there's a gap here, and it's going to start to feel the effect of it. Now, reading through the article is just kind of talking about how the logistics of everything had played out with COVID-19. But I wanted to ask you, does something like this not only happen with chicken, but do you see it happening with other types of food? And
it's already happened.
It's already happened. It's already happened.
The pork. There's going to be a massive delay, and they're actually. I read an article, and they were talking about how they were just euthanizing pigs because the market value was so low they couldn't sell them.
Wow.
That's a major impact.
Wow.
On our economy, and again, you look online, and by the way, the state of Florida has opened it up for DeSantis allows you to ask questions or to submit your answers on opening Florida, and I hope he gets just absolutely inundated with open now. So I really do, and again, if you don't think it should be open, you have the right to stay home. You know, I told my mom this yesterday, and she goes, well, I want to go out. I said, Mom, stay home. Mm-hmm. You know, she's in her 80s. She's had pneumonia twice in the last 18 months. I'm like, Mom, you have to stay at home. Right. You are very susceptible to this flu virus. You're susceptible to the flu. So stay home. And that's her right. That's her liberty to stay at home. It should be my right and my liberty to go out and order a sandwich in a restaurant and get a tea refill.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, you know, in lieu of, like you said, already having these issues with the break in the food chain, if you will, the supply, does that mean now this is the conversation of where things start to get marked up in price? Are we going to see chicken go through the roof now when it comes to the price of just trying to buy a bag of nuggets?
Already have, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at the cost of beef, over the last 5 years, it's gone way up because of the cost of feed has gone up, right? Because corn being converted to oil. When you're taking your own food and making energy out of it, there's going to be an impact to that. And so now hopefully the oil prices being low will mean the feedstock is low, and that will help a great deal. We'll see. I don't think, the Dow is up. So the Dow has confidence, and I think that has more to do with this so-called flattening of the curve.
Yeah.
But could they have gotten it more wrong? The thing is even when they placed the model on countries that never closed, right, the Swedens of the world that never closed, their model is not a little off. It's like 30 times off. You know, when they were talking about 2 million people dying, 2 million people don't even have the virus.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about stacking body bags on how many people are on ventilators. And by the way, ventilators, and if the patient's on a ventilator, that's also a checkbox for more federal money. So just put that.
Ooh, that's interesting. Lost you there for a second, partner. You still on? Now we lost him, but as we do get him back, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. I'd like to thank Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located at 2700 Southwest 34th Street, where they offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Any questions on how they're handling the COVID-19 and how they've been dealing with it so far and what the expectations will be as the stay-at-home order comes into play and as more guidelines come through, any questions, they say give them a call, 854-6262. That's 352-854-6262. And, of course, Penn Flooring, full-service flooring company dedicated to finding the best solution for your flooring needs. Experience in both commercial and residential fields. 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala. 352-351-3420. That's 351-3420. Galen, you there, buddy?
Yeah, apparently the government didn't like what I was saying. All that 5G.
All that 5G, yeah.
And the fluoride in the water, it's all coming. They're making us taxes.
Now, I was going to say when we were discussing a little bit, like you said, with Tyson, like the bag of chicken nuggets is going to go up in price. It's one of those things that I was kind of seeing as a big consequence, and the thing I'm fearing a little bit. I'm almost in the expectation that maybe a year from now we're going to see things definitely more expensive than they were a year from now, just trying to deal with what had come from COVID-19 and maybe a little inflation. My other question was for you, do you see, like you mentioned, do you think the price of oil will stay low enough for a long period of time that will actually help average things out within the economy? Or do you think that'll come back and spike and be right back to, say, $2 to $3 a gallon at some point?
Well, it depends on a couple of factors. One, how are people going to travel?
Right.
You know, once the winter comes, depending on the severity of the winter, how much fuel we have to burn to keep us warm. Those are the two biggest ones. Is, you know, right now airlines are slashing the number of flights they have.
Yeah.
I think they're down to about a third of what they were flying pre-COVID. Again, how many jobs is that? Those are high-paying jobs, aren't they, Adam?
Yes, they are, and that's.
I know you want to be an airline pilot.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing too on that, Galen. I think we always kind of look and process something like the airline industry just right here in our own soil. But you got to understand that globally, the idea of the aviation industry is kind of interwoven. It's interconnected in a way, and worldwide, globally, it's taking a massive hit. We're talking other countries with, 5,000 people just laid off and stuff like this, and other airlines all around the world. And when it's interconnected like that a little bit, that's a huge beating. That's a huge beating for what we consider to be a global economy. So yeah, it's a little heavy, and I wanted to get into that too because as they're going to start to try to do what they can and come out of this by maybe offering some deals and getting more people to fly. Did you hear that JetBlue is going to make it mandatory that if you fly, you need to wear a mask? Yeah,
and again, I don't know how that's for. Is this a temporary solution or is this forever? Who the heck knows? And again, flying is you don't have a right to fly on somebody's plane. Mm-hmm. Somebody owns that plane. Whoever owns that plane can make their own rules.
Right.
I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? If there's a small business owner and they say, hey, in order to come into my store, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
and if
right.
I want to go into that store, then I will wear a mask.
Yeah. But at least they're open.
I think that's their right.
Right.
I have
exactly.
no problem with people imposing their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. It's when the federal government and then our state government. And by the way, If DeSantis doesn't open, let's just say he delays this and things aren't open till June, he will not be reelected. His approval rating is pretty low. It's okay. It's what more than people voted for him. I think like the way he's handled it.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't open things up, the bottom is just going to fall out of it. Because at some point, the Chamber of Commerce has to start getting involved. And the Chamber of Commerce, depending on what you think about them, they are a major lobby for our government, and they're going to start really putting pressure on all of these states to open. So that's going to be an interesting consequence.
Yes, it is, and he's going to meet with President Donald Trump. We mentioned that, and thanks to Annie Marie Delgado and the updates of the Trump Team 2020 from President Donald Trump, they're going to meet, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be brought up. Hey, my approval rating and whether or not I open this stuff up, I want to do it safe, but I want to open it up.
I'm a big
I'm not
believer.
going
Who cares what the president says?
Yeah.
Right. If the government in the state of Florida, we have some autonomy from the federal government. The federal government's put out this guideline. We have flattened the curve for the last 3 weeks, right? When you look at the curve, there's a blip now and then, but overall it is way down. Open the thing up. And look at Kemp up in Georgia. He opens up, his approval rating skyrockets. President complains about it for 2 days because this president depends on what article he reads or what tweet he reads, depends on how he feels on the subject. So don't worry about what he says. But DeSantis is basically, Trump's, whatever Trump says, that's how he got elected because of Trump. So he believes that Trump, whatever Trump says is gold. Just do what you think's right, man. I haven't talked to anybody who thinks we should keep this closed, who has a small business, or who works in the medical field.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're, oh my gosh, if I see another placating ad about let's bang a drum at 7 o'clock at night or whatever, 11 o'clock for workers, medical care workers. Come on.
Well, just to steer into the skid here with the idea of the expectations with our county schools, it was a week ago that we had on the Marion County Public School Superintendent and PR, Kevin Christensen, Dr. Heidi Mayer. We had the conversation kind of rolling everything about within the distance learning, and then the governor saying, okay, no one's going to be going to school for the rest of the year. But the conversation was directed towards what happens then for the seniors and stuff. And as of yesterday, it's been talked about that Marion County High School graduates may have the chance to actually walk an in-person ceremony as they're starting to put together a conversation about getting these high schools an opportunity to have a graduation ceremony this summer, which is some good news there, partner.
Well, it is for them. I think it's apropos. It's called COVID-19, and I think if you're a graduate in 2019, that's all you'll remember. Really, it's COVID because you lost your prom.
Yeah.
You lost your spring break, kind of,
yeah.
Just didn't go back to school. It's tragic for those guys, and who I feel for are the athletes who are the senior year playing baseball or track and field, softball, and they didn't get to have their senior year of that sport. I know how much that meant to me, and I can only imagine. As a parent, if my son wasn't able to play a senior year of soccer or my youngest was able to play a senior year of basketball, I think we would just both be gutted because they put so much into it. There's hundreds of hours, thousands of hours put into it, and then to be that taken away. And the same is true for band concerts and plays that didn't happen.
Right.
So much. You can't say it's wasted because whatever they're doing, they're just enjoying, but there's no payoff for it. So there's no senior night. There's no performance. It's terrible. And, I talked to a friend of mine whose son had a chance of winning the state championship in golf, and that's gone.
Wow.
That opportunity is gone. And that's a shame. It's a shame, but for what? For what? So.
Wow. Yeah, that's something there. Considering what comes from that accolade, if you were to say win it, what opportunities come about from that are now thwarted in a way.
Thankfully, he's already got offered. He's gonna go to college playing golf.
Yeah.
But that's not. But to me, it's a bigger point than that. To do something that he's waited his whole life to do. It's just taken from him. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to explain that to me. And I'm amazed that we closed down the golf course in Marion County. Talking about a socially distant event. If you play with Dan, you never have to worry about it. He's out there on a nature trail. You're never very close to him. Most holes, he just picks up his ball because he's got a 9. And that's probably who I play golf with more than anybody else on this planet. So I'd be perfectly safe. There have been holes, and I'm not kidding, where we shared a cart, and he never really got in it for 3 holes because, he just said, I'll just walk to the next tee box.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even bother putting out. He say, well, I've lost my limit of balls on this hole. So I'm just going to move on to the next. Okay. We'll go 3 holes, and he'll never be in the cart with me. He'll be like, hey, can you throw me a club? Sure. Yeah.
So he's walking around with 3 clubs, one of them a putter, but yet he's still got 3 shots to get to the green.
Absolutely. I've seen him be in the bunker, and the water is behind him at the time, and end up in that water. That is a true story. That is a true story. And I remember standing there in the green, about to put my little 4-footer for birdie. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he sculls this little chip into the water. And it'll just walk it off, and it says, I'll see you at the next hole. So, he's a terrible golfer. You don't underestimate how bad he is a golfer.
Galen,
Try to get him lessons,
yeah.
and he's so bad, the guy, he goes, I can't work with this. I don't have enough time.
We appreciate, buddy. We're back to the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. You have a good day, my friend. We'll talk at you tomorrow.
All right, man. Be good.
You got it, buddy.
Get up.
WOCA Ocala, back after this.
To help prevent the virus spread on planes.
The company is the first U.S. airline to require passengers to wear masks. They must be donned before check-in and kept on while boarding, during the flight, and deplaning.